Hey guys, it's Dan at Ready Edge Go. Hope everybody's doing fine. Today I'll be covering the UC application from a student's point of view. It's a pretty straightforward process, but there are a few nooks and crannies that require some explaining. This video is meant to complement my UC App Strategy Guide, which is completely free for you to download. So if you haven't already, go check that out. I'll put a link somewhere on this video for you to get it. So without further ado, let's get started. First of all, obviously, you want to make sure to start an application and select the fall semester 2016 because that's probably when you're going to be starting college unless you plan on taking up a gap year. And obviously, you're going to be entering as a freshman. So if you're coming out of high school, definitely click freshman. And from there, you're just going to dump in some additional personal information. When you're asked to go ahead and select campuses and majors, you go ahead and check off which ones that you're interested in. Guys, I mean, there are two approaches here. You could definitely select all of them if you want to, but obviously note that there is an application fee of $70 per campus. I would recommend making sure to select the colleges or the universities that have programs that are strong in the areas that you're interested in, and also take into account geographic location. So for the purpose of this exercise, I'm just going to go ahead and select 3 campuses here, and when you click next, it's going to prompt you to select a major. So for UC Berkeley, I'm just going to go ahead and come down here and select as my primary major economics. And I'm going to go and click next. And what you'll find is that for some colleges, it's actually different. They'll ask for not just a major, but they'll also ask for an alternate major. And basically what that is your first and second choice. So I highly recommend using your second choice wisely. Obviously, don't select anything that you don't have any background in. That's kind of foolish. Select something that's relatively in the same area or spectrum of your qualifications as well as your interests. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with economics for my primary for UC Davis and undeclared social sciences for alternate major because economics is a social science. So I'm going to go ahead and click next here. UC San Diego, I did the same thing, selected econ. They even recommend students who select this major to indicate an alternate major because it's a pretty competitive major. So I go ahead and did that, click next. And for UCSD guys, you guys are going to have to rank basically your preference for your first 2 years there. And this is their way of providing some flexibility. Some of these colleges have more emphasis in math, whereas some have more emphasis in social science. Guys, take a look at my strategy guide. I basically have all this outlined there, super easy to see. It's actually way easier than this website, UCSD website helps you with. My strategy guide pretty much lays out what the main differences are for each of these colleges and allows you to choose and rank them really, really quickly. So take a look at that. I'm just going to go and rank them 1 through 6 right here, but I'm going to go ahead and move on. So next up, basically, I mean, you just have your review page. I'm just going to go ahead and skip over to scholarships. Here, it's pretty straightforward. You just select which ones you're interested in applying for. And, you're notified whether or not you earn them after you gain admissions into the UCs that you applied for. So go ahead and wait up for that. But select, you just select whichever ones you're interested in. You can obviously select up to 16. The About You section is basically where you dump in a lot of information. Make sure to have your parents around for this one, guys, because you'll need to ask for about their background as well as income information, and unless you do like your family's accounting, I don't imagine you know all that. So definitely have them around when you go ahead and fill this out. All right, I'm gonna go and skip over to academic history. This is where some questions come up, but basically, in short, the UC just want to make sure that you fulfill the A through G requirements. I'm not going to go. I can create a separate video for that. So, but for now, feel free to Google that on your own. Long story short, if you're here already, you probably have fulfilled all of them, and they just want to know what you fulfilled in the middle school and high school, and in addition, any other kind of academic history that pertains to your interests. So go ahead and hit that, but hit that button and just fill it all out. At the end here, you're going to be asked for additional comments for anywhere on your transcript if there are some really odd blemishes like C's or something, or a D or something like that. You can go ahead and feel free to explain yourself so long as it doesn't come across as whining or a lot of excuses. For instance, if you had a hard teacher or you're being lazy, definitely don't want to put that here on the application. But if you were injured or you were sick, maybe you lost a really close family member that impacted your studies, feel free to write about that. So make sure to be concise, be honest, and they definitely want to hear you out in those situations. So in activities and awards, guys, this is pretty much where they start getting to know more about you, right? I mean, at this point in time, they know what your numbers are for the most part in terms of your grades. I mean, the next numbers area is probably the test scores area, but this is where they start getting to know who you are and what you're interested in. So the first area here is obviously coursework other than A through G. So any kind of courses that demonstrates additional interest in a certain area. For instance, like an engineering course at the local community college or some other kind of language immersion program here, they want to know about. So this is a great place to dump it. EPPs or educational prep programs are UC sponsored programs like Cosmos and ATDP that basically just show that you are familiar with the UC system and campus life. Unfortunately, a lot of students don't know about this until they see the application. So I'll probably be making another video on this one pretty soon as well. The next section is community service. Basically, the main question I get here is, does it matter how long I served, whether it's an hour or a total of 100 hours? The answer to that is no, it doesn't really matter. So long as you served any kind of volunteer service, you can put it here. Just make sure if you have more than 5 volunteer service experiences, that you put down the 5 most meaningful ones to you. And that doesn't necessarily mean more hours the better. It just means the ones that you found most impactful for your life. Obviously, the next work experience is work experience, or the next section is work experience. And for this, you just basically put down what you did. They'll ask you about what you plan on doing with your money. In which case, you just tell them the truth. I mean, I imagine part of it's for pocket change and part of it's probably for savings. So go and write that down. Awards and any kinds of awards and honors. Basically, guys, anything that you're formally recognized for, you can put down here. And I would highly recommend asking your parents, because what I found is that parents typically remember awards better than their students do. So ask them to see what they remember. You might not remember everything you earned. And lastly, obviously, you want to list the 5 most important extracurricular activities to you. Obviously, this is outside of volunteer experience for the most part, although sometimes there is overlap. For instance, if you are part of the American Red Cross Club or something like that at your school, you've done a lot of volunteer work with them. But you put here, if you were like the VP of that club, that would go here, right? So feel free to put in the most important things. And guys, when you put down your descriptions, make sure to write complete sentences when you can, okay? And obviously, take a look at my strategy guide. I have a whole section here on how to make this part work for you. So that's pretty much it for this entire section. Let's go ahead and go over to test scores. The main thing here is to remember to self-report your highest scores, and it's single sitting. The UCs don't super score, and so report your highest single sitting score. And you can go ahead and omit any other scores that don't look so impressive. So for the UCs, what that means is typically, you want to drop out your lower SAT scores, and any subject tests that basically are below like 650 probably don't look all that great for your cause. So keep it simple, report what you want them to see. They're going to basically be able to verify those scores anyway from College Board when you send in your scores. And in College Board, guys, you have to send in all your scores. So the difference with that is, you have to send in all of them. Here on the actual application, you just go ahead and self-report. So don't worry about having to report everything here. And the last section, guys, is the most important section, arguably, because it tells your story, and that's going to be your personal statements. You have 1,000 words to write 2 essays, and in a nutshell, I'm not going to waste my time describing how to do them here. Obviously, that's going to take way too much time. But make sure to get feedback, not just from your classmates or your English teacher. One, because peer edits, well, your peers have never gained entry into any of these colleges before. And number 2, your English teacher probably doesn't know all that much about how to write great personal statements either. And so I found it to be pretty hit or miss. And a lot of students just write the personal statement for the English class just to get the assignment done anyway, not necessarily to do a good job. So take your time. From my experience with working with students personally, I found that students typically average about 4 or 5 different drafts per essay to really nail it home. And that's given good feedback from me, right? So um, make sure to get some of your best feedback that you can from professionals. You can go ahead and shoot me a message if you want some feedback from me. I'd be more than happy to help. And obviously, the last section at the end here is additional comments. Wow, this is probably the most neglected section on the UC application. A lot of students feel like after they've finished, the rest of the application, they have nothing else to say. But in reality, guys, this you should definitely use this part to set yourself apart from everybody else. And how you do that is you basically include information that basically isn't anywhere else, or even to elaborate on something else inside your application. For instance, you can put something down here about perhaps what it meant to be a big sibling, or what your value system is, or potentially even elaborating on something from your activities and awards section that you only had limited character count there. Here you have 550 words, so feel free to put down anything here that you think would give the admissions reader a better picture of who you are as a person, because ultimately, guys, your goal with the UC application, just like any other application, whether that's the Common App or a scholarship app, is to come across as someone who has potential. So make sure to utilize this area here. I guarantee you it'll definitely set you apart. This pretty much brings the end to the video. So if you liked what you guys saw, make sure to leave a like, a comment, or subscribe. I really appreciate all the support. And yeah, until the next time, I will probably be producing a couple more videos on the UC application and then eventually move on to the Common App. So if you guys need anything in particular, feel free to leave me a comment or shoot me a message. Otherwise, keep it real, and I'll see you guys next time.